How do you get to be top of mind in your industry? I mean, if you're a LinkedIn expert and there's someone looking for a LinkedIn expert, then you'd like to think that when they're looking for a LinkedIn expert, they're looking for you and then you're going to come top of mind. If you're a recruitment expert, you'd like to think if someone's looking for a recruitment expert and they search recruitment expert, they're going to think of you top of mind. But how do you get in that position? A psychologist from the 1960s called Robert Zajonc came up with a term called the Mereexposure effect. Mereexposure effect. What he spoke about was that the more you're exposed to something, the more your behavior can be changed. So I'll give you two examples. One example, and these are a little bit more, slightly more modern than the 1960s. The 2012 Eurovision contest. What scientists did was that they studied the amount of time each contestant was exposed to the general audience and the public, compared that to the votes they got. So basically the people who got the most votes were the people who had the greatest exposure. In another experiment, psychologists placed 12 frames into a Simpsons episode. Now those frames were the words, "I'm thirsty." They also placed 12 frames with cans of Coke. There were two groups. One was the group that was exposed to these two sets of 12 frames, and the other was a group that didn't have these frames. What turned out was the group who were exposed to those subliminal messages in their subconscious, when they were asked how thirsty they were, their response was they were 27% thirstier than the control group. So the subliminal messaging, this repetitiveness, it actually had an impact on seemingly on their physiological needs. So how's this relevant to you? Well, it's relevant to us because I think there are three ways that we can stay top of mind. Number one, you've got to stand for something. I have always been about mystery shopping, or have been for the last 10 years or so. But that has now progressed to being known more about purpose, because unless you're clear on your purpose, the behaviors aren't right in the store. So there's a bit of a link there, but I'm making a transition from one to the other. I'm not there yet. I'm not even close. I, at the moment, don't stand for one thing, but there are some people who just stand for one thing, and it's so much simpler for other people looking in to see just one message, one thing you stand for. Number two, be consistent. What I do try to do is post every day, usually with video. My scenes are usually this one, and I'm usually wearing a black t-shirt. A, I'm lazy, but B, I've started to think, well, that's actually providing a little bit of consistency. Now, I'm not saying every time you think of a black t-shirt, you're going to think of me or see a black t-shirt. No, but it starts to give some consistency. The thumbnails on my videos, they've got a top and a bottom, and they've been in orange. I might stick with the orange, I might go for another color, but I'm now thinking when I do settle on a color, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to chop and change that too much. Because the branding, the look, the background, it's as much as part of the brand as anything else is. So number two, be consistent. Number three, think long term. None of what I'm telling you is going to help you tomorrow. This is a long-term play because you actually need those repetitive pieces of contact to occur for something to happen. So you can't think short term. This is not a tomorrow ROI thing, but it certainly is something that builds you up in good stead in the long term. So number one, stand for something. Number two, be consistent. Number three, think long term. Now, I am struggling with these myself. I'm struggling because I just want to put so much out there, and I've posted a lot about these creative juices that we all have. We launch businesses, we do all these different things and different products. I know, but we need to be consistent. What I'm going to try doing, and you can watch in on the journey, is trying to weave these together into something cohesive that you can then understand to be like, okay, I've got that thing, that equals Stephen. Stand for something. Let's start with that one. I hope that helps. I'm Stephen DiPietro. Thanks for tuning in.